Okay, so this is round 6, and it's again. This is my first round playing down. I had just suffered a couple of losses. Now I'm back on an even score. So I went into this game really thinking like I want to win. I'm playing really far down for the section, but as it turns out, my opponent is very underrated. He gained over 100 points at this tournament. So let's just see how the game goes. So c4, e5, playing the reverse Sicilian. d3, knight f6, knight f3, knight c6, g3. So I want to play d5, and in this case, it felt like I could play d5, so I did. Takes, bishop g2. And here I play bishop b4 check. Now this probably isn't the most, it trades the dark square bishops. Um, Really what I wanted is to quickly develop, get all my pieces out, castle, and just play a position. But if we're really thinking about, okay, what's the most direct and testing way to play, probably trading the dark square bishops is not the answer. His dark square bishop doesn't really have like a great square that it wants to go to in this position, so should probably keep the dark square bishops on, play like maybe bishop e7 or bishop e6, something like this. But okay, bishop e2, the bishop's traded, and I get the castle. And now after knight c3, I don't really want to take the knight, but at the same time, retreating is sort of feels like I might be losing a tempo. But I just eventually decided that knight of 6 is the right way to play. Castles, rook e8, just getting the rook behind the pawn, open file, improving move. And then a3, and a3 felt like it was not the most accurate move. It doesn't really do very much. Maybe he wants to play b4 at some point. But what ends up happening is this b3 square seems a little bit weak, so I try to pounce on that with knight d4. And he takes in the game, and sort of what I wanted after takes is takes, and then I'll play like maybe rook b8, b6, c5, play against the e pawn. But really, the idea of b6, c5 is not fantastic because b4 can happen, and then after it takes, the c pawn will be backward. So in that position, probably black is actually a little bit worse. These positions where the pawn is sort of more advanced than the opponent's, it's very double-edged, and I'm not totally sure that I like it with the side that has the advanced pawn, but at the same time, I feel uncomfortable when I'm on the opposing side. So this might be a structure that I just need to work a little bit harder on to really understand what's going on, what the trumps are in the position, and how to play. In the game, we trade the other pair of knights, and I just play c6 to blunt the bishop. Also, when a rook comes to the c-file, the pawn on c6 feels like ideally placed on this square. The downside is that the d pawn is going to be artificially isolated um, because it will not be able to be protected by another pawn. And it's on a dark square, so my bishop can't even defend it. So what will happen, likely, is white will be able to get some pressure on this pawn and tie some of my pieces down, likely a queen or a rook. And it'll be very difficult for black to play for an advantage here. Bishop f3 did not feel like it did very much, but okay, just play bishop f3, a5, b4. Now after b4, my intention was to take it and then try to put pressure on the b pawn. However, what happens is white will be able to try to play b5, and it's sort of like a minority attack. Um, so that is sort of his goal in this position. So I have to be sort of careful. I take, well, at first I play the move queen d6, which I think is important because, well, if takes, then I'll be able to play rook e5 and take, and black should be borderline winning in that position. I'll pick up the a pawn soon. And if not takes, now I'm threatening, well, not threatening, but my plan is to take on b4, and if queen takes, I'll be able to trade the queens. So that was my plan. And the issue is if I take right now, then after queen takes, he gets sort of, his queen is covering a lot of these squares, these dark squares, and I have no piece that can really counter that. It's very difficult for me even try to trade the queens in that position without hanging something. So I thought queen d6 was a very important move. Rook fc1. Now I take. and I developed my bishop to protect my rook on a8. And now here I was thinking, I was feeling pretty good about the position. I can sort of play against this b pawn. My pawns seem relatively safe, but this d pawn is again sort of this thorn in my side. Where if it was on d5, there's no question that I'd be able to play this position forever. Um, but it's on d4, and after queen b2, it's not really clear how I'm supposed to handle this because he's sort of threatening to take on a8, play rook a1, and win the a file. This pressure on d4 is hard for me to deal with, and also at the same time, potentially b5 can come, and then if b5 comes, my structure on the queen side sort of falls apart. So it was in this position that I realized that I have to be very careful, and if I don't play very accurately, I might even be worse. I played the move queen d7. The purpose of this is to stop all the threats, to stop b5, to maintain control over to continue to protect this pawn on d4, and then also if takes rook a1, I will be able to play. What was my intention here? If takes rook a1. Well, I can just sort of play queen d8. Queen d8, then there might be. Well, there's never b5, so maybe probably no. Queen d8 takes, and the d4 pawn hangs. So I think at this position, I was just thinking I would take and play like g6, and this is a very similar position to what happens in the game, but I thought I was fine here at least. So actually, this is the game. This is the game continuation. So um, this is what my plan was because it's what I played. So queen a7 now, and then after queen a7, he actually offers a draw, and I really didn't want to draw this game. I wanted to win this game because first of all, my opponent is lower rated, as I mentioned, and also uh, it didn't feel at the time like I could really lose the position. In retrospect, if anyone's better here, it is white with this sort of pressure on these pawns. He's just going to sit back and forth unless I try to do something to win, which I do. I decline the draw and play h5, h4, king h7. The idea with king h7 is just so that there's no checks and um, I can maybe try to play like bishop g4, or my other plan to try to win was to go bishop b3, bishop a4, and all the way to a6, and then to free up my queen. But it involves a lot of risk to play either of these plans. In the game, queen b6, and I sort of realized that none of my plans really work. I just play king g7, queen c5, and then I play bishop g4, and I miss it, intermediate check. So after takes, not queen e7 first, which was sort of my intent, like that was the move that I saw when I played bishop g4, but a check first, and after the king moves, then queen e7. And really in this position, I should go to g8, or I should not be playing for a win in this position. Should definitely not be playing for a win in this position. I am lucky that I still have, in this position, I should even just play king g7, and after taking on b7, then I'll be able to take on e2. We'll just sort of have a position, but I shouldn't ever lose there. In the game, I play queen e6, and um, in this position, I just assumed that the king pawn endgame was going to be fine, if not winning for me, because I am the only one who can create an outside pass pawn. But the problem is that my king is too far away, and in the time it takes for my king to get over there, he will be able to bring his king up with king g2. So takes king g2, and it was in this position that I sort of realized I am now losing. I try some things, but my opponent is very strong and played very well from this position on to win the king pawn endgame. Here, this is my only real try, is to get his king is just way too active, so I have to use my pawn to support this pawn. But after the move f4, there's really nothing I can try. I take it. He takes with the king, which I thought was right, and then I try g5. Now g5, if he takes it with the pawn, I think I'll be okay actually after king g6, because he doesn't really have any moves. So that was my hope, but just king moves to e4. I try b6, takes, 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 king f5. And then my final trick was right here. Um, right here when I play king g4. If he plays e5, then I play king f5. And even there, I'm not winning. It's probably going to become some sort of queen endgame, but uh, after king e5, I can pretty much resign. I play a couple more moves, but um, yeah, this was a very upsetting game for me. Maybe not the most upsetting game in the tournament. We will be getting to that in the future video. But this one was sort of just I underestimated my opponent maybe, but also just pressed for a win in a position that I should never press for a win. I played a very committal move, queen e6. Um, queen e6 is extremely committal. The king pawn endgame. Now, we didn't have very much time at this point, which I can sort of blame at this point, but really there is no excuse to play move queen e6 unless you have at least somewhat looked into the king pawn endgame. I mean, queen takes e6, f takes e6, and after king g2, I immediately realized that I am losing. So all I have to see is one move after taking and playing king g2, and it would just, I mean, this should really never happen. In that case, I would play king g7. Maybe I would offer a draw. Maybe he would accept it, but position is not better for black. So I should really not be pressing these sorts of positions. So let's take a look with the machine. d5, yeah, this is the most principled way to play. Takes, takes, bishop g2. And yeah, now bishop b4 check is not a bad move, but I don't think it's the most. Let's check the explorer. Yeah, in this position, bishop e7, knight b6 even, bishop e6. These are all moves that black has played. Um, bishop b4 check is by no means a bad move, but it's not very it's will lead to more balanced sort of positions, I guess, because without the dark square bishops, at least black can't really claim anything. Um, Now it says I should take on c3 instead of playing knight f6. I just thought after b takes, I'm not really getting anything. But I guess the issue is at this point, black really doesn't have anything. So I just go back, castles, rook e8. a3 I thought was a little slow. Machine seems to really like a3. Okay, very interesting. Knight d4. Yeah, takes, takes. And this position after knight d4 is sort of, I was trying to maybe say that I have this advanced pawn as a trump, as an asset, but it really is not. It's more of a liability. Takes, takes, c6, bishop f3 felt like a waste of time, but I mean, the position isn't very sharp, so the time doesn't really mean that much. a5 felt good, b4, and then I thought that queen d6 was very important. It turns out that I can just take. So takes, what if queen takes? And then rook a5 or rook e5. And it's the same sort of thing that I was trying to get in the game, actually. So I should have been able to do this. Yeah, of course. Of course. I shouldn't be worried about queen b4. I was just worried about my dark squares, uh, my queen not being able to really cover stuff and being tied down to this pawn. But rook a5, rook e5, rook a5 seems reasonable, extremely reasonable. Even going to b5 in the middle, and trying to get a tempo with, like, if queen c4, bishop e6. This is a very reasonable way to play. So really, queen d6 is not totally necessary, but also not a bad move. So, okay. Rook c1, takes, takes. Yeah, maybe bishop e6 is the inaccuracy because of queen b2. Queen b2, and I felt like maybe now white was actually better, which white is a little bit better, but queen d7, takes, takes. Rook c5 move. Okay. So rook c5, if I just play, it's interesting that it wants me to play h6 and not g6. I wonder why that is. What happens if g6? Oh, I see. Okay, so white actually gets an attack here. Sort of starts to open up things. If I play this, then the queen shifts over. And maybe I'm in a little bit of danger, or maybe queen on f4 and some sort of weird. I mean, there's not that many pieces, so I don't think I'm too concerned, but if I play an inaccurate move, like like let's just say I play careless, like queen e7, queen f4 is hitting a pawn, and white can be better. I mean, there's no question white can be better in this position. So that's very interesting. Rook c5 was not on my radar and did not seem to be on my opponent's either. Rook a1 instead. Takes, g6, queen a7, and on offer of a draw. I can play a couple more moves without really risking anything, but after here and my opponent's just sitting on a7, b6, c5, I mean, I really should just accept a draw and say, opponent played very well, opponent's underrated, and let's play a different game and try in there, because continuing here is really asking for a loss. In this position, queen e6 is the losing move, but already it's really only white that can play king g7, king g2 even, and yeah, I mean, I don't really have to. If I play like reasonable moves, queen e6 is sort of an unreasonable move, but if I play reasonable moves, I shouldn't lose. But if anyone is pressing here, it should be white. So, and then yeah, queen e6 throws it away. King g2 is the only way to win, but my opponent is strong and understands that this is the way to go. I think let's just look at a couple of the little tricks here. Apparently HG is actually still winning for white. So, but my trap was sort of like, okay, maybe this is like a zugzwang, and if the king moves, then I can take and maybe, but I lose the race. I just lose the race. King g4, e4. I'm too slow. Well, this is obviously better than what I had in the game. At least I'm getting a queen here. Yeah, queen e5. Okay, I mean queen e5 is the most natural move in the position. Yeah, he's just gonna trade the queens by force. Okay, yeah, it's not anything crazy. And then the king pawn game over there is winning. But okay, that was my trick, which doesn't even work. Um, and then yeah, this is my last trick, which also probably doesn't even work here. Okay. I mean, okay, now b5. This trick may have worked if this happened. b5 is not the most obvious move. I guess it's pretty obvious, but it's there's ways for white to go wrong. Maybe just like king e3 or something. And then suddenly maybe I can press I can win this now. That would have been very nice, but no, my opponent is strong and king f4, and yeah, now there's nothing. So this was a very difficult loss. It was unnecessary. This game should have been a draw a lot, pretty much the whole game. After bishop b4, bishop takes e7, probably is very drawish the whole way. I think that my opponent just played very well. There's not many moves you can look at and say that they were mistakes or inaccuracies even. Even the move a3 that I thought may have been an inaccuracy turns out was a very good move. So I don't know. Maybe opponent is better than me. But okay. This was a little bit um, demoralizing, and that is sort of seen in my next game. But okay, you'll have to wait for that one. So yeah, I'll get these videos out one a day, and as has been happening. And I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.